So the title of this panel is deliberately a bit provocative, but there's several ways in which AI, you could think about potentially extending human lifespans. And one is through better treatment of disease. That's one way of looking at it. Another might be, well, through wellness, you know, sort of helping us live healthier lives. Another might be to actually try to treat aging specifically, so taking some sort of compound that would reverse the aging process. And lastly, and probably most sort of sci-fi, would be the idea that somehow we're going to, through brain-computer interfaces or some future technology, kind of merge with an artificial intelligence. And while we might be able to extend our consciousness even if our physical bodies don't make it. I want to ask our guests, because they are experts in this area, where they think the most impact from AI will be. Christine, let's start with you, and then Alex.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Fortune. Thank you, Jeremy, for the wonderful panel. I'm Christine. I'm from Quantum Life, and the Quantum Life is actually doing quantum-enhanced artificial intelligence for precision medicine and for integrating human beings' longitudinal data to predict more and more accuracy plans for humans' health span, and of course, maybe later on is lifespan. So we are so excited for this new technology merging up, and we have already seen for humans' life, and for the past like 30 years, we have already had a lot of changes in Medicare, in healthcare, in pharmaceutical area, driven pharmaceutical development. But the question is, for human beings, we always think about birth, aging, disease, and death. We are in Singapore. Some people are talking in Chinese. We call it 生老病死, right? We never think about, we're all focusing on disease, which is disease and death. But how about aging before disease? That is how we wanted to introduce AI to improve before disease. And we have already seen during the past 10 years, liquid biopsy, which is highly based on the bioinformatics being there, which is make great progress in cancer prediction and for disease prevention, which means a shift from the disease care before ahead based on the autonomous diagnostics, before a little bit ahead to prevention. And next question that is going to be how we develop indications and interventions through that process. That is how AI will be introduced, and we are going to move forward for the next generation.
So this is on the idea of prevention as a way to forestall disease and to improve lifespan. Alex, I think you may have you may agree with some of that, but I'm curious what your view is on this. I think you might have a slightly different perspective on where you think the biggest impact will ultimately be on longevity.
Sure. So I wear many hats, and one hat is Insilico Medicine CEO, and another hat, I co-founded a conference called Aging Research for Drug Discovery. It's an annual event in Copenhagen every August for 5 days. A lot of people come to this conference, and we convene and talk about aging. So it's probably the largest event right now. And when I started the conference, most of the scientists were talking about diet, exercise, sleep, behavioral modification, right? And of course, about 30% of the delegates at that conference are also going after very, very visionary things that are way beyond that. But at the end of the day, it always goes back to diet, exercise, sleep, and behavioral modifications. And what I'm afraid of the most is that in the next 10 years, I'm already 46, so kind of for me, it's all like, you look into the future, it's all downhill, right, sorry, for both males and females at that time. So whatever I do, it has to have more impact than just diet, exercise, sleep. So I think at most conferences, we need to start thinking about, diet, exercise, sleep, prevention, diagnostics should be the baseline, right? So let's do what your mother told you. Just let's stop talking about it, let's do it, right? Some people are still smoking, right? So we need to have something much more substantial, a big breakthrough, ChatGPT moment in longevity, in order to get people excited and get them, steer them away from diet, exercise, sleep, behavioral modifications, do what your mother told you. Because we know that works. It works to some extent. But billions of people live their lives. Many of them have optimized for diet, exercise, sleep, and they still aged, got diseases, and died. So we need to go radically to the next level. So far, from what I've seen, nothing works on humans. There is nothing clinically proven no drug is clinically proven to demonstrate age reversal in human beings. So, and we're still trying to prove that some of the drugs that are known for 30, 40 years may have some impact, even though they work in mice really well. So like rapamycin, for example, 15 to 20% consistent life extension in mice. And now people are doing combos, looking at different ways to, different molecules to go after aging. But I think that we need to have a fundamental breakthrough in order to live longer. And of course, things like brain-to-computer interfaces, very promising. So there you're not only maybe reducing the rate of loss during aging, you might actually augment your function. Like think about glasses, right? Very easy innovation, but it restored useful function. Plus nowadays with 3D glasses, you might be able, and with augmented reality, you might gain new functions. So I think we need to go and look at the next level. I think that the next level is going to be drugs that target aging and disease at the same time. If you are just looking for using AI to discover drugs that only go after aging, I think you won't be able to develop it into a drug for many reasons. One is just basic economics. You won't be able to reimburse it. Most people misunderstand how difficult and costly it is to develop a drug. And also you have to be committed for 10 years or longer, right? So I run Insilico for 10 years. My most leading drug is in phase 2 clinical trials. So inshallah, as they say in the Middle East, if we are successful with phase 2 and we go and target a disease and show the proof of concept, in maybe like 3-4 years, we'll be able to show that it works on aging, hopefully, because that's how we discovered it, using aging research. So you have to be very committed for a very long time to demonstrate even a little bit of efficacy.
Yeah, Alex, can you talk a little bit about how AI, though, is maybe speeding up some of that process? And a little, I know you're getting this, but you have some of the most number of AI discovered drugs currently in various phases of clinical trials, including in phase 2, a drug for idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis, which is a drug that's targeting both a disease but also has interesting implications for aging. So can you talk a little bit about, first of all, like how AI can accelerate that process, that 10-year drug discovery process, but also this dual strategy of going after things that both target a known disease but may also have implications for age reversal?
Sure. So first I need to kind of tell you, and that's probably useful for all of you, a story how drugs are discovered and developed. So drug discovery and development is split in 2 phases, basically. Drug discovery, where you discover the drugs and ensure that you complete all the preclinical experiments. And then development, it's human clinical trials. Phase 1, safety. Phase 2, efficacy. Phase 3, safety and efficacy. That part cannot be dramatically expedited because you have to move with the speed of traffic. It's very regulated. But the part where you discover drugs can be substantially accelerated. And so far, we've demonstrated at least 50% increase for the slowest of our drugs. In some cases, we've demonstrated that we can shave off 70% of the time and maybe 90% of the cost of drug discovery using AI. And drug discovery is split into 3 phases. One is formulating the mechanism of disease. So you need to understand why disease happens. So usually for Alzheimer's, for example, we still don't know why it happens and what's driving it. Then after you formulated the mechanism of disease, you need to understand which proteins or other features in biology are driving those diseases. We call them protein targets. So you identify protein targets that may work in a disease. Then you design a small molecule, a drug, or a biologic, an antibody, that disables that kind of criminal that you've identified that is driving the disease. And that's a completely different kind of type of work that you need to do. Usually that's very two different separated areas in the pharmaceutical company. And then once you've designed the molecule, you need to conduct safety studies. So you need to go into animals and demonstrate, preferably in more than one animal, that the drug, well, first of all, works, so it's effective, and it's also safe. So you call it IND-enabling studies, safety studies, and then you can start humans. So in our case, we use kind of live models, the models that understand human biology from cradle to the grave, and also understand diseases, to pick those protein targets that are implicated in aging and disease at the same time, so there are few. And then we have another form of generative AI that designs small molecules with the desired properties. Instead of looking for a needle in a haystack, you generate a bunch of perfect needles. And then you synthesize, test, go through the preclinical trials, go into clinical trials, and then we either take it ourselves or we sell those molecules to other parties. So we've actually sold a couple drugs very successfully. In last year, we did $1.5 billion in total deal value selling those drugs. So those AI-generated drugs that are faster and cheaper to make are actually of higher quality. So people are willing to pay a lot of money for it.
Right. Christine, you were telling me as we were coming in that you're also sort of looking at this idea of creating a life model using AI, but maybe also to pick up on disease indicators of disease earlier, and then you can have earlier intervention is sort of your idea of how you could extend life. Can you talk a little bit more about that and what you're doing? And then I want to go to questions from the audience, so please think of your questions. Hopefully we'll get one or two in.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Jeremy. And just as Alex mentioned, because for drug discovery, it's a very, very long journey. And currently, we also have the drug discovery from the preclinical stage. And Insilico did amazing work driving forward the AI drug discovery to the clinical stage. But the question is, we still need to facing the clinical stage, right? We still need to take like 10 years to get through all of the regulatory approval. I have to say, for bringing in new medicine or bringing in effective drugs or cures or interventions to our life, it's not only about pharmaceutical, it's not only about drugs. It's also about one, regulatory. Secondly, what is a personalized right drug for ourselves? So during the past 30 years and during the medical, if we leave our Western medicine history like to the past 200 years, we will figure out, okay, so actually the medicine, the drug development, the system is all based on one fundamental for medicine, which is autonomy. And that is the fundamental curriculum in medical school. Like I'm training as a medical doctor, so that is the first year curriculum. But during the past 10 years, we already shift our diagnostic window before the traditional autonomy, because you think about it, how we diagnose a disease. We do autonomy, and we have our brain, our liver, our stomach, right? And now what has happened? During the past 30 years, the next generation sequencing has already shown up, and a lot of molecular information has already been discovered. And together with the bioinformatics, which is the AI for the past 10 years, we have already developed several pre-diagnostic tools, like Grail developed the cancer preventions. Okay, so the next era going to be, think about it, we have already shifted a little bit the cancer diagnostic stage from the late stage, like 2 and 3, to forward, stage 0. And what is the right cure for the stage 0? And we need to develop cure for the stage 0. And that is how Quantum Life wanted to discover from stage 0. And we compare, that is not only disease. We compare which is younger, healthy group and older group. And we discover what is the right intervention, what is the right target before any disease happening. And we develop cures for the stage 0. So that is how we can make drugs for extending the lifespan and health span. Then think about it. If we have this kind of interventions already, maybe drugs, maybe some other treatment like medical device can already be a treatment to the stage 0. And what is the next step? The next step that is how we can compare. Where is the right, if we are talking about the precision medicine, where is the database? How we can have the database, how we can make the individual personalized medicine for ourselves. So we also need to have the database for ourselves.
Right.
That is the quantum.
So you have to record a lot of data about each individual person in order to deliver the precision medicine, because the data you have on the whole population may not actually be relevant.
Exactly.
That's interesting. Let's take some questions from the audience. At least let's get one in while we have time. Who has a question? Please raise your hand. We'll get a mic to you. I see there's a woman at the table over here. If we can get a mic to her, please. There's someone running over to you. And if you could please stand up and state your name, that would be great, and where you're from.
My name is Miao So. I'm global CIO from GLP. So I have a question around the role AI plays in medical, and where do you see the obstacles of further utilization of AI, either in it's not just precision medicine, but diagnosis of a disease, but also in a longer-term healthcare, really care about people. Is that a compliance issue or government regulatory or other obstacles?
So I guess how do you make sure that AI is actually helping us bring out better treatments, maybe assisting doctors in a better way, and what are some of the hurdles to that, whether they're regulatory or not? I know Alex was talking about a number of regulatory hurdles that he's facing in terms of just getting treatments out, but I'm curious on this wider question. Do you have a view on how AI might assist doctors in picking the best treatments for individuals? And then maybe Christine can answer.
So sure, actually I will give the time to Christine on that, because she is working in that area more than I do. So on a population level, how do you use AI for healthcare?
Wow, that is the dream. It's actually the ultimate dream for human beings and for the current public health system. So I have to say that is how we wanted to bringing Medicare beneficial to human beings and through medical doctor system as soon as possible. So the first of all, AI for diagnostics, we can exactly enhance the diagnostic errors make medical doctor, radiologist to have a better diagnostics, and also for medical doctors can select a better drugs and bringing the drug repurposing, because some of the interventions may not need a new drug. We need to figure out how is the right drug for the right person. Maybe that drug is for traditional drugs, like metformin. Metformin is very cheap, and metformin, currently, we also seeing the effect on extending humans' lifespan. Basically, it's healthspan, but it's very cheap. So we are considering if we can use it and bring it to the healthcare system.
Right. I have a question on this, which is sort of, I feel like there's a lot of these medical techniques that are sort of have been invented, there've been a number of breakthroughs, and yet the distribution of that is a problem. So we have this big inequality issue depending on where you live or even which doctor you happen to see. Your doctor might know about this breakthrough treatment, might be able to prescribe it, might do genetic testing, might not do genetic testing. I feel like there's this great disparity in the healthcare we receive just on sort of these very arbitrary factors about like where you live and what doctor you happen to have. I don't know if you can say anything about that, Christina. Maybe AI can help sort of bring the general standard of care up to a certain level.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that AI is the ultimate democratizer, enabler, and unifier and equalizer. So now with ChatGPT, everyone here in the room can have more access to knowledge than some of the best doctors just 5 years ago. So you can take a picture of your wound, for example, and let it annotate it. And
you have to hope it doesn't hallucinate some answer, though, Al.
Well, yeah, it has a problem, right? But it has a very good demo of what is possible, because you give it a little bit more reinforcement learning, and if you don't need a snappy response, you can actually have a multi-agent system that will try to solve your question in maybe a little bit more time, then it doesn't hallucinate, or you eliminate some of the areas where it could hallucinate, and it can answer very accurately. So it shows you that with technology, we actually not only equalize some of the professions, but we also make them very accessible to everybody, democratize, and we gain superpowers. And I think that we need to use this technology right now as much as possible to identify interventions that can target aging at its core and make this technology available to everybody. That's why we are very focused on small molecule drugs,
right.
Because small molecules, unlike biologics, they are super cheap to make. Once they go off patent, they're available to everybody on the planet for peanuts. And they are also very easy to store, to transport, and people are very used to pills, right, rather than injecting expensive biologics.
So there's lots of potential for AI to democratize access to health and access to hopefully these new medicines. We're out of time, everybody, but thank you very much for listening. And thank you to our panelists, Alex and Christine. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Singapore.
Thank you so much.